Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm kickstarting my loudspeaker reviews with a bang. So as you can see, this is a huge bookshelf loudspeaker that uses wooden woofers, that's right, with silk tweeters all wrapped in this huge white gloss enclosure that is called Natural Sound NS17. A very fitting name considering all the materials that are being used. So this is a high-end bookshelf speaker, so of course I'll be treating it accordingly. And later on I'll be comparing it with the KEF LS50 Meta, the newest one, so please stay around for that. But are they worth it in the end? That's the big question that I'll try to answer today. In terms of looks and build quality, their fit and finish is great. They used thick MDF boards for a better dampening, offering a stunning first impression. Although they might look small, in reality NS17 are huge and heavyweight, looking massive compared to, say, a KEF LS50 Meta. The speaker terminals are firm and strong. There's a switch that works as a hardware equalizer for its treble output. 0 dB is the default setting that I've enjoyed the most. Add or remove 2 dB to make it more extended or more relaxed in that region, according to your needs and to your setup. At 12 kilos apiece, please make sure you have the right speaker stands and surface area to accommodate them. Overall, I find them pleasing to the eyes, they look modern and minimalist, and they remind me a little bit about my former loudspeakers. As for the tech inside them, their uniqueness comes from those big 6.5-inch wooden woofers. That's right, what you see are 20 extremely thin layers of wood, sandwiched together, coated with dampening material to improve its rigidity. And I'm pretty sure those woofers will be sounding like Mother Nature itself. And I get it now why they went with Natural Sound brand name. Their tweeters are made out of silk, another sign of what should be expected sound-wise. I've owned several loudspeakers that had silk tweeters, and from my own experience, you cannot get a lusher and more believable sound from different materials. Some are associating silk tweeters with a rolled-off treble, and that is why Natural Sound added a switch on his back just in case you'll need a little bit more bite and treble presence. Each tweeter is loaded with 4 powerful magnets that lead to higher magnetic flux and to a much faster treble response compared to a traditional silk dome tweeter. But what I really like about them is their higher impedance of 6 ohms that isn't leaving a huge burden on your amplifier, so you can even use a low-budget Class D amplifiers with great results. Okay guys, let's get to the most important part, the sound quality. When it comes to sound, if I would describe them with just one single word, unsurprisingly that would be natural. With a few more, that would be just lively, super engaging, vivid, alive, dynamic and so on, with absolutely zero listening fatigue. With a few more, that would be just decompressed, that would be big, airy sounding, really punchy sounding, nimble, fast sounding as well. There is just an overwhelming sensation of music as an act of pleasure, of pure joy, as a complete relaxation of body and mind. So NS17 are not just overly smooth sounding and very natural sounding, but also extremely engaging, very engaging actually, due to an instant rise and decrease of those dynamics, if the music is asking for it, of course. I'm comparing them for 2 days straight with the KEF LS50 Meta, and while I'll tell you a lot more in the latest parts of this review, I can tell you right now that LS50 sounded small, bidimensional, so quite plain and simple, quite shy, not that impressive in terms of low-end delivery, so in terms of bass, while NS17 just sounded super big, expansive, highly engaging, very impressive in the bass, much closer to my KEF reference-free loudspeakers that you can see behind my back. Yeah, right there. NS17 just sounded highly engaging, always toe tapping and never pressing the brakes when it comes to dynamics. And considering the materials that are being used, It was a little bit unusual hearing a very good detail retrieval and really nice transparency, considering that it uses a silk dome tweeter, so my former loudspeakers weren't that impressive in this department, transparency and detail retrieval. But by far the biggest surprise, the nicest surprise, was the low-end delivery, the bass, something that I never expected out of these loudspeakers. That is actually the biggest reason why I moved to stand-floor loudspeakers, because my former bookshelves couldn't deliver the wall experience, the wall frequency response. I just wanted more treble, I wanted more bass, but if I had something like NS17 before, I don't know if I would have the urge to upgrade to bigger speakers anytime soon. I seriously think that arming them with 4 magnets around its tweeter unlocked its 5th gear when it comes to speed, decay and plain transient response. Because usually silk dome tweeters cannot compete with something like air motion transformers, with electrostatic, with ribbon, with plain planar magnetic tweeters anytime soon. And the same can be said about its wooden woofer. So only thinking about it isn't inspiring a lightning quick transient response. But let's think outside of the box, and because everything is possible with some proper engineering. So be it rock, be it electronica, be it modern jazz or pop, they just kept going and going, always sounding super snappy and alive, fast and nimble, highly impactful no matter the track. The low end made its appearance like a rock star stage diving into the crowd. I personally couldn't ask for more from a bookshelf loudspeaker, so it was just highly impactful with my music, fully preserving the speed and the slam that followed. I still own one of the fastest, I think, loudspeakers that I tried at my place, CAF reference-free loudspeakers. I've tried them for 2 weeks and I just couldn't send them back. I'm a transient response junkie, and of course I bought them after that. And while NS17 cannot compete with something that is 6 times more expensive, they easily stood their ground, and I think they sounded a lot more impressive compared to something like CAF LS50 Meta or Buchard S400 loudspeakers. As for Soundstage, when I moved from my former Wafferdale Diamond 11 to CAF LS50 wireless and then to Buchard S400, it felt like I was gradually increasing the listening space, like my room is becoming bigger, like every sound was better filling my room, so there was just more density somehow. I had a better pinpoint location of all the notes, and all that lead to a better picture, sharper picture in front of me. So what Buchard S400 did to my former loudspeakers is what NS17 is doing to the Buchard S400. So natural sound just made them huge, as you can see. So this is a huge cabinet size, and of course a 6.5 woofer means that they will just sound bigger, more expansive, more impressive when it comes to depth, when it comes to soundstage size. When properly driven, I felt a better control of the drivers, more robust bass delivery. But more important than ever, I think that the scale was just much nicer. They just sounded a little bit bigger. By the way, in terms of scale, I think that they sounded good to almost great out of entry to mid-level amplifiers, and just outstanding out of proper Class A amplifiers. Still, one of the most impressive or interesting aspects is that with some crowded music, with some dance music like orchestra or live recordings, instead of sounding cluttered and a bit shy as LS50 Meta did, NS17 were at least twice as big sounding, placing every sound where it belongs in the scenery with a charming ease and without overlapping them on top of each other. As for how much detail they can retrieve from my favorite tunes, I believe that NS17 is a highly detailed, very transparent loudspeaker without going overboard to the overly bright, overly sharp side, without being aggressive, without sounding clinical at all. I never felt that they were less impressive when it comes to leading edges, to contours of the notes, but they were certainly a little bit less impressive compared to the CAF reference-free loudspeakers. So NS17 were exactly as sharp, exactly as nuanced, exactly as clean as the CAF LS50 Meta, rendering details on a micro scale without stressing myself too much. However, you won't find an abundance of micro details as it might happen with air motion transformers, with electrostatic tweeters, with ribbon tweeters. I believe that my former loudspeakers also sounded pretty much the same as NS17, so going towards a fun listening experience. I'm about those Bucard and Dynaudio loudspeakers, so going towards fun and less so towards lean, boring, and dull presentation. So as a small detour, I find my KEF reference-free loudspeakers more detailed, more transparent sounding. I believe that their metal drivers are rendering treble with clinical accuracy and with a faultless presentation. NS17 aren't exactly at the same level, but are approaching very close without sounding metallic or overly sharp. When it comes to frequency response, bookshelf, loudspeakers and low-end delivery were never best buddies for life. I'm sorry, but bookshelf speakers cannot just deliver an amazing sub-bass performance. Their small cabinet size, their small drivers just cannot move that much air, of course, down low, and just forget about an amazing sub-bass performance. With very small exceptions from that rule, I believe that Bucard S400 was quite impressive in this department, but I think that NS17 is a little bit more impressive in the bass, mostly because it has a bigger cabinet size and a bigger woofer. While NS17 is nowhere near as impressive when it comes to bass delivery, when it comes to slam as the KEF reference-free stand floor speakers, I think that they are coming pretty close to those, and of course they are easily outperforming something like KEF LS50 Meta. Even Reference 1 that I've tried several times weren't that impressive in the bass. As for mid-range, say it out loud with me, a wooden woofer. And now think about all the musical instruments that are using this wonderful material. So it's unsurprising just hearing an outstanding mid-range performance. And while I think that its low-end delivery was impressive, its bass performance was cool, I think that all the spotlights just moved to the mid-range. That was just amazing from the first second. So vocal performance is through the roof, it's incredible. There was just more authority in the vocal, in the male voices, more sweetness, more refinement with female voices. Musical instruments that just had a longer vibration and just a natural decay, something that this one cannot do. And I think that mid-range is by far the best part of this loudspeaker when it comes to frequency response. There was one interesting moment when I felt that there is no digital to analog conversion, that I'm listening to music right now at present tense, like those people are just singing in front of me and I'm having a great time, like I'm not listening to a recording that happened 1 year ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, but just right now. Something that not a lot of loudspeakers can do nowadays. Personally, for me, mid-range performance is the most important part, as if you do it right, everything else just remains less important. As for treble, what that wooden woofer did to the mid-range is exactly what that silk tweeter is doing to the treble. So at 1 inch, it is slightly bigger to usual tweeters, and of course with 4 magnets around them, you can expect just a powerful, crisp, detailed, clean and extended treble performance. So in a span of 10 days, I've listened to pretty much anything, so from soft relaxing music to fast, energetic and aggressive music. And I think that NS17 were just quite amazing in the treble, so easily showing all the tiny details from this region. While it isn't the most extended, the most sharp, the most detailed treble that I've heard with loudspeakers, I think that it offers a non-aggressive and lifelike treble that I can listen for hours without any listening fatigue. As a short comparison with the KEF LS50 Meta, I'll just say right away that LS50, they sound quite fast, quite nimble, they have a very fast decay, they have a great timing, pace, rhythm and timing is impressive, they have a very precise pinpoint location of all the notes. They are creating 2 air bubbles in front of them, so with sounds where you can pick up all those sounds. And the problem is they are not filling the room as good as well as NS17 is doing. I believe they are creating a bidimensional image and not a three-dimensional one as NS17 is doing. They are not filling every corner of my room, so with LS50, while these ones are doing that much easier. I also think that they have less layers of sound, so you just hear a bidimensional, so everything just is front of me, while with NS17 you have sounds closer to you, at the same level or just behind the speaker, so creating a more three-dimensional picture in front of you. Probably the most important part about loudspeakers is how engaging are they sounding. And I think this is where NS17 is playing in a league of its own. I find them much more engaging, much more interesting, more warm sounding, more just they can awake more emotions compared to LS50, which I found quite lean, quite neutral, so not that impressive in this department. When it comes to bottom end to low end delivery, there is no contest. I feel that I have a lot more information coming from here than from here. So realistically speaking, LS50 starts with 80 Hz and NS17 with 40 Hz. So of course, a much wider frequency response, a much better bass performance out of these ones. So of course that also means a much punchier bass, chest pounding impact, so much more interesting in a way. As for mid-range, again, there is no contest, to me at least. I feel that these ones are just awakening more emotions. Everything is just more lifelike sounding, voices are deeper sounding, heavier sounding, while with LS50 toned down just a little bit, they sound a little bit boring, a little bit lean, leaving all the emotion side to the electronics that are connected to them. So you can make them a little bit warmer, but you'll need some nicer amplifiers and maybe a nicer DAC, something that NS17 doesn't need. So in the end, I think that the premium price of NS17 over the LS50 is fully justified. They are sounding nicer to me, so much wider frequency response, a bigger sound, more layered sound. They can fill my room with sounds much easier. I'm basically all over the place when a snappy track hits my playlist with the NS17. I'm just headbanging, I'm toy tapping, I'm enjoying my time, something that I cannot do with the LS50 Meta. So I'm getting goosebumps on NS17 and I'm not doing that with LS50. And this is why I believe that they fully deserve the premium price over the LS50 Meta. As for my conclusions, I really like that I didn't need the biggest and the baddest amplifier to awake some higher dynamics, something that I truly disliked with my former loudspeakers. So they sounded great out of the 50 watt class amplifier, equally well out of a budget class D amplifier, and only by a hair better out of a powerful class A amplifier. They also matched equally well with R2R DACs, with Delta Sigma DACs, with FPGA DACs, with or without dedicated preamplifiers. I really enjoyed my time with Natural Sound NS17. They will cost you $2,300 including shipping, and I know that this is a huge chunk of money, but I honestly believe they are worth it. They have a single worldwide distributor right now. I've put a link below for their web store, so please check that out. Okay guys, my full in-depth review can be found on my website. In case you want to support this channel, please subscribe to it, and as usual, listen to my music, be positive, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye bye.